half as good as the podium tier. That's probably the best race I've ever watched on a Formula One game. So it was definitely, there was always a car within a second of another car, and you just didn't know who was going to win. Obviously, it's the first race of the season, so we found a lot of drivers made some silly mistakes, but that's to be expected, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we are starting up the first round of qualifying, like we said. Again, full qualifying, so really it's just down to elimination style. We have 17 drivers for today's Grand Prix. We were supposed to have a full grid, but counting down from 18 minutes, we are missing 3. One said that he was not going to show up, so that is that. I think, like we said, one of them was not, or one of them is Tuzmos that's not going to show up today. I'm not sure who the other 2 are, but it seems to be a lot of drivers that are going to be putting on the ultra soft tires to start off Q1.
Yeah, Dynity, Tuzmaz, and Matt aren't attending tonight. So other than that, we've got a full grid. One thing we learnt from the last session, Alan, was that depending on what tyres drivers go out on Q1, kind of dictates their tyre strategy of what they selected. So if they selected a softer tyre strategy, they're going to be going out on ultra softs.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen this race from many drivers where a lot of them started on ultra soft, but again, I still think that very few drivers like Flair and Clifford and Jor, who are on the super soft tires, or at least going on those tires to start off the qualifying session. I mean, a lot of drivers just go out for banker laps when it's a short qualifying. For full qualifying, it's very different for these drivers. They really just want to get their lap in and out. Really, it's just for the final session that they'll be doing that. But with 16 minutes left, again, I only still see 3 with super softs, but knowing the pace of drivers like Flair and Clifford, again, I'm not surprised that they're going on those super soft tires. It's a very bold strategy that they're going to have to do. I've seen a couple drivers starting on the super softs go one less stint, but like we said, again, with these new tires, again, the new car, everything, the tires are wider. Most likely everyone should be going for a one-stop in this race. I mean, I believe it's out of 29 laps if it's 50%.
That's correct, yeah. In the podium tier that we just did, we had drivers, I think only one driver did a one-stop who actually won the race, and the rest of them all 2 or 3 stopped. The main reason being for that was because we had 4 virtual safety cars and 1 safety car. The virtual safety cars, when they came out, we couldn't actually figure out why, because there was no incident or damage to any front wings. We know in this latest patch they said it will be out more often, but we couldn't find a reason why. First impressions of the new spectator mode?
Beautiful. It's definitely going to make my job a lot easier for other leagues, and for your job as well, since you're the broadcaster. So I'm really excited. It shows a lot of detail. It shows what tire everyone is on. It shows what time that they're setting. It shows what position they're in and how close they are to the car ahead and driver. You can obviously change that from every driver to the leader. I think it's very detailed that they added it in for us. Obviously, it was for the F1 Esports Championship in London, and they decided to add it in for us as a 1.9 patch. So congrats to Cody's on that, or props to them. Fantastic stuff. It's going to make league racing and league commentating a lot more better. So I'm really excited for it, and hopefully, there's no glitches with it. Most likely there won't be, but again, I'm really excited to start using it.
We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. I believe that's Sam. He's just pulled out the way in his Force India to let someone through, but he's back out again as Vanis sets the fastest lap of the race at 22.9 on the ultra soft tyre.
The McLaren Honda driver already putting up a fast lap. I mean, Clifford just set a lap of 1:23.5 on these soft tires. Only 3 drivers have put a lap on the board so far. Obviously, again, at around 13 and a half minutes remaining. We started with 18. We only get 3 times in there. So I'm sort of surprised. I thought we would have seen around 7 or 8 drivers in there, but I can only see there's around 1, 2, 3. There's only 4 drivers out there for an out lap. A lot of them are in the pits or they're just sitting there. And really, I'm quite surprised because I thought they would have been out there by now. Now it's down to 3. But with 4 drivers with the fastest, or 4 drivers with the lap set on the board, Clifford's still second. I'm not sure who set a lap time for the 4th spot. It was either Cobbers or MX, but now 5th time goes in. That is Flair. Barely, never mind, a lot of times flying in. As you can see, 10th is CC Odoms on 125.9.
Oh, as the McLaren goes off.
Validated.
McLaren goes off. Enitec has gone off at the second to last corner, almost into the barrier. That's a large runoff area as well, so I don't know if he had problems with his brakes or what. What we found in the last session that we just did with the podium guys, Alan, was that they were pushing too much in the first part of qualifying. They don't need to run max fuel here unless they really feel threatened, because only 2 drivers are going to drop out for this session.
I mean, again, like we said, or like I was saying before, I'm kind of surprised TC Odoms is 10th because, it says a 125.9. I'm not sure if he invalidated that lap. Never mind. Cobblers has retired from the session in sector number 3.
He's that is on the start-finish straight, I believe. He's come out of last corner and absolutely binned it. His car is absolutely destroyed, both wheels. So perhaps he opened the DRS too early or something like that, but he's out of this session.
Yeah, and again, props to Codemasters for letting us spectate him for a lot longer after he retired, because that is going to be very useful when someone retires from the session. Also, Sector 3 incident, it's probably just yellow out for trying to remove the car if it's still there.
Oh, we've got a Renault that's just crashed in Sector 3. James Slater, on the exit of turn 12, has crashed. He hasn't lost a wheel, but his front wing's badly damaged. We did a practice race yesterday, Alan, and I must have counted 10 different drivers who spun at turn 12 on the exit.
Yeah, it's very tricky trying to get to that double apex. I mean, come off railing on the left side where the rumble strip is, and eventually you can lose the back end, and it's not good for the car. Obviously, you'll be spinning, but looks like he's going into the pits, probably put on a new set of tires.
I'm just hearing, Alan, that your voice is perhaps a little bit low. I don't know if you're
I'm gonna try and fix that.
Able to turn that up slightly for us. We are live on YouTube. All our races this season will be broadcasted live, so make sure you subscribe and also follow us on Twitter at F1TS Hub. If you fancy joining the league or checking us out, then you can do so at www.f1tshub.com. We've got a waiting list at the moment as we are full in both our tiers, but we'd be happy to welcome new members to the website and potentially get you a space in Season 10.
Very excited as well. Follow us on Twitter at F1TS Hub. That's obviously the official F1TS Hub Twitter, as we put all the updates up on there for everyone to see. But so far, we have 9 drivers. Let's see, 8, but 7 the fastest lap, and it's MLA. 2 tenths off. These times are very, very close. I'm surprised by that. I feel very close for Pinnacle here, as I'm trying to get closer to my mic. That may be the reason why it's a little low. Then again, you are the one streaming, so that could be another reason.
Chris is out. The season's drivers champion is out on track. Beast Hass is also out.
Dan is out on the track as well. 11th. The Sauber driver's not set a lap so far. Both good times. I mean, I see Collins down in 15th, setting a 1:24.2. He's out of it. Looks like Sam is a 1:24.8. He set a time. Other than that, a lot of drivers have still not set a lap time yet, and we only have 9 minutes remaining in the session. So, again, I'm surprised that not everyone has, gotten out there. But again,
I think you're about to see BSAS.
Yeah. BSAS across the line, sets pole position on those super soft tires by a little more than a tenth. So,
and he's retired from the session. So, I presume, I'm not exactly sure if he'll be able to take part in the next session. I presume he will.
I think he just called it quits for Q1.
So only one person will drop out because, well, saying that, Cobblers has set a lap time, so Jamie and Sean, who are currently in 16th and 17th place, they're going to need to beat his time in order to get through. Otherwise, Cobblers will still make it through. So Chris has retired from the session in the Ferrari. I just spoke about him. He's binned it in what looks like, is it turn 11 and 12? It is indeed, Alan. Another driver to fall victim.
Now that's before he hit the apex. Most likely, he came through turn 11, lost the back end there instead of turn 12, just spun the car. It looks like, obviously you can see the front wing damage. It looks to be on the left side, so it's a tire. So most likely he lost the back end, turned into the left side of the wall. Tire popped off and went into the gravel trap. That's most likely what happened. I'd love to see a response from that. But we have 7 minutes remaining. And I do believe, I think, since we have 17 drivers, I think either 12th or 13th would advance. So we have 17 drivers left, or 17 in total in this session.
Yeah, so if Jamie and Sean don't improve over Chris, well, in fact, Chris hasn't set a lap time, so all they'd have to do is set a lap time to jump ahead of him, but they need to beat Cobblers if they want to advance out of this session. Otherwise, you're correct, we will start Q2 with less drivers than allowed.
So there are a couple drivers left who have not set time so far today. That is on board with James in the Renault. Down in 16th is Jamie in the Toro Rosso, and 17th the Mercedes man, Sean. Other than that, everyone else has set a lap. Even the 15th place has not set a lap time. I think that was a Ferrari who just retired. So he has not set a lap time, however, so he will fall down to the bottom of the grid. But everyone else who has not set a lap time that is still in the session is out on the circuit trying to set one with 6.5 minutes remaining. Do you think anyone from top Beast has this time?
I don't think so, and I don't think there's any point in trying in this session. We've seen a lot of drivers make mistakes, and I was saying in the last stream that the grass is so close to the track here, where if you dink two wheels on it, it's so easy to just lose the car, and with the wall so close, you know it's at least going to be damaged.
Something I also noticed, there are now 4 drivers with the super soft tires, most likely. But before BSAS got out there, I just realized he did start on the Ultra Softs to begin with, and at the end of the session when he retired, put on the super softs and ended his day for Q1. But as you can see, again, we have 2 drivers left who has not. Never mind, Vanos sets the fastest time, a 1:22.5 in that McLaren Honda. So he tops Beast has, and we just asked you, and you said no, jinxed it for him.
I did indeed. He wanted to risk it for a biscuit, that's for sure. He wants to claim that top step for the first part of qualifying. As we ride on board with Jamie's going across the line, and he moves up to 14th, so at the moment we've just got Sean and Chris who are going to drop out. Chris won't be able to set a time. Sean is out on track. Let's switch over to him and see what the Mercedes can do.
11 and 12 keeps it clean, unlike other drivers today. Headed down the straight into, I think he's 13 or 14.
This is,
there, but...
yeah, I've been calling it 13, so
okay.
Perhaps it is, perhaps I've been wrong.
Yeah, I know
bit of a lock-up.
Final corner, so this is a valid lap. Hopefully it is. Final corner runs a little wide, opens up DRS down the straight. Time for Sean will be 5th place.
It's very close, top 6, top 7 even, Alan. 4 tenths separate them all, and then you've got another from 8th all the way down to 11th place. It's only separated by 4 tenths. We had a brief yellow flag, but Jamie's now back in the drop zone, so he's on lean. He's going to come back into the pits, just over 4 minutes left, so anyone who wants to go out will have time again.
So with 4 minutes remaining, everyone has set a time left, or that is left in this session. For Q1, remember, there are 3 qualifying sessions, so really, drivers within the first top 11 or 12 don't really matter as long as you make it to the next round. Not many other drivers out there. I mean, Sean is about to come into the pits, and I think Jamie trying to prove himself to trying to get into Q2. He's trying, but I don't think that time is going to improve. That's my opinion.
This will be his 3rd flying lap on these tyres, and he's running max fuel, but after this lap he won't have any fuel left to get back to the pits, so this is his final attempt. He's down in sector 1 on his personal best time, nice and tidy out of sector 1 though, so unless he's made a big mistake somewhere that we don't know about, he's going to struggle to improve.
That's on sector number 2, the back straight. If you ride on board with him, you can tell on the right side is that big lake in this park as we head into turns number on the left apex and the right apex. Does a good job. Does not spin the car. So you head down the straight into turn number 13 through the billboard or under the billboard. Not locking up. Again, some of these drivers have done a phenomenal job with locking up because, I mean, other leagues I see, or other people or drivers I see at this circuit, half the time they're locking up in corners, and obviously it's not good for the tire wear and the tire health. So really, to see a driver not locking up at all is pretty decent, but he opens up DRS down the straight, run up to La, and this time will be 14th.
He does improve.
By 2 positions, though. I'm not sure if he'll make it the next round.
So we've got Jaw, who's in the pits, so unless he comes out right now, he's going to be dropping out with Chris. I'm not sure. Hammertime's retired from the session. He's binned it because that's in Sector 3 yellow flags, I think. Or has he just retired?
Well, the pit lane is in Sector 3 and Sector 1, so for him, I think his pit lane will be in Sector 1.
James Slater feels under pressure. He's come back out on ultra soft tires. Jamie's crawling back with no fuel. But as I said, Jaw hasn't come out, so he's obviously happy to start from 16th place. You would thought he only set his quickest time on the supers, so you would thought he would have gone out again, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I definitely thought he would have gone out again. I mean, we do have just enough time. But again, I think it's just down to the drivers and what they feel is right to the car and the race. So with a minute and a half remaining, some unexpected things to happen. A couple drivers retiring, a couple drivers staying into the pits and not going up the circuit. And again, it's just down to the drivers on what they feel is right for the car and for the team and for the Grand Prix. So really, we'll just have to wait and see till either Q2 or when the race starts.
So James Slater's the only one out on track. He's going to have time to set a lap, but he doesn't actually need to. This is a brand new set of tyres. His previous quickest lap time was on the super softs, so he's kind of wasting the life on these. Unless he just wants to get a feel for the car on these tyres before Q2, Alan?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, these drivers have prepped for this Grand Prix. I mean, he has set a time on those super soft tires, so it's not really getting practice in, but at the same time, I think he just went out there because he felt threatened, and now that he's out there alone, he's realized that, he's realized I'll make it to Q number 2. And most likely, I just think he wants to put a little wear on these tires. I'm not exactly sure why he's continuing to stay out there.
Yeah, he needs to be careful not to, as we've seen so many drivers, you know, max fuel, lose the traction out of turn 12, and suddenly you're taking no further part in qualifying.
It's a shame, really, but time is complete. We have 3 minutes for James to finish his lap. I believe he's the only one left out there.
Yes, that's correct, he is.
Actually, no, we have Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie's crawling back. He's going to possibly get in the way of this lap from James Slater. It's looked. I've been riding on board. It's looked like a really solid lap. He's been in max this whole time, so he's definitely pushing this car to the limit. Nice line into the penultimate corner. Jamie does get out of the way.
Down straight across the line. James will improve to 7th place, and qualifying is complete. Q1.
Q1's over.
Yeah. Good job to him. Something I'm wondering is if anyone got grid penalties, because I know that's sort of a common factor in league racing, but as we scroll down, I don't think anyone does, so that is fortunate for these drivers. So the 2 drivers eliminated are Joe in the Red Bull, and it's like the British driver in the Ferrari, crashing out and not setting a time. Other than that, mostly everyone, got a participation grade on advancing to Q2.
Yeah, it was fantastically close at the front there. Look at those times. Under a second separates the top 11 drivers. So anyone who gets through to Q3, we're going to have a proper showdown on our hands for pole.
Definitely. I mean, the gap is very, very close. So once we get inside the top 10 for team number 3, I think it's going to be sure. But again, now we're down to 15 minutes. And remember, Q3, I believe will be demoted down to 13 minutes, just like short qualifying is.
I think it's 12.
So, 12? Oh yeah.
12. I think it's 12.
I think 12 or 13. Probably 12.
So we've just got 14 drivers now. We did have 15, but I think it was Cobblers who made it through, but obviously destroyed his car. And we're waiting for the first driver to make a move.
I've seen other oh, never mind. I was gonna say something, but it looks like one driver's out. I think, is it Dan? I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to sort of get an on-board view with a couple of drivers. I can't really get anything. Yep, it is Dan out on the track. Least outer warming up the tires for Q2. Again, 14 minutes left. And again, I think a couple others have joined them out on the circuit. Most likely, yeah, you can see NX. You can also see CS Odom out on the circuit as well.
What we found interesting as well in the last stream for the Podium Boys was anyone who selected the hardest strategy can actually go through this session on the soft tire if they chose to.
Again, I'm not surprised. That's what I usually do. I mean, I've done that myself doing career mode here, and it works out very, very well for me in the long run. So a couple of these drivers doing exactly that, and they have a good reason to, because it can work in your favor if you're not good at tire management. If you are, then most likely you should just go with the softer compound or the softer selection for this Grand Prix in Australia. But again, it's down to the drivers and how they react in car, the driving style, because, I mean, some drivers are very aggressive, are very, very mean to the tires, just, I wouldn't say over-driving the cars, putting a lot of wear on it. I mean, some drivers are very good at saving their tires, to the point where you can actually stand on the track a couple laps longer than other drivers who, you know, are pushing to the limit with their tires, trying to stand there as long as possible. I mean, that's something that comes in a race with saving your tires. Again, that's a whole other skill level that we have to go about, you know, besides driver skill, because driver skill is one thing, and then you have tire conservation is another, and fuel consumption or fuel conservation, I mean, is another. So really, again, it all factors up, but one driver's already out.
That's Compact. The Renault Compact has binned it. I can't see where that is. That is just before
right
turn
before.
11. So that's
happens.
what they class as a straight, really, isn't it?
I wouldn't necessarily
it's a kink,
classify it as a straight.
but it's definitely slipstream worthy in terms of if you're close to another car. Yeah, I'm not sure how he's binned it there, but we've got another driver out. One thing I've noticed, Alan, is these Pinnacle boys, they've been moving out of the way of each other nicely for when the car behind's on a flying lap, which I think's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the podium tier also does that as well, or else they could take notes from these guys. But again, they've done a phenomenal job of trying to keep it clean with everyone else so far today. So that's something that you can take away. But 14 drivers left, 11.5 minutes left in queue number 2.
Dan's going to be the first person, 23 flat on super softs, and he moves out the way nicely for Jamie.
First time of the day across the line, and next we'll put a lap time of 1:23.4. So sector number 3, yellow.
Riding on board with Clifford's red. He won the unofficial practice race last night after spinning at turn 1. So he'll be looking to build upon that. As you said, so Compact's out, so we're only going to have 13 drivers left now. And so far, Dan and Hammer Time, who are teammates at Sauber, are the only 2 drivers on the Super Soft.
Again, a different strategy when it comes to Q2. Again, like we said, Flair was one of the drivers, so was Beast has to put on the super soft tires for Q1. Now it's Q2, and it looks to be Hammer Time and Dan are the only ones to do that for Q number 2. I'm not sure if we'll see a change in Q number 3, because that could be crucial for these drivers setting their best time in the session that matters most. Do you think we could have different drivers putting on super soft tires in Q3?
I don't think so. I've never seen we've run full qualifying in Season 8, and I've never seen a driver put anything other than the fastest tyre on. Obviously they get handed a free one for qualifying 3 just to use up, and then obviously they give back to Pirelli. I just noticed Odem's coming into the pit lane here, and he's hit the bollard, and that's now gone. In the last Q2 session in the podium tier, one of the drivers, I can't remember who, I think it was Matt Your Daddy, came into the pits and just overshot it and just totaled his car on the wall that separates the pit from the racing track.
Again, some drivers have their own driving style when it comes to the circuit, but something I take in mind, again, we talked about turns 11 and 12 so much today, and I'm really surprised that so many drivers have baffled themselves with this certain section. Actually, hold on a second. Flair apparently has put on these soft tires in qualifying. I'm not sure where he wants to go with that, but we will see as he's about to go on track any moment now, as he's still in the pit lane. Do you think he'll try and, obviously put on a time with soft tires and then just use up his best tire for Q3?
Well, it's possible. Obviously, anyone who goes out in this session, they don't really want to do more than one lap on them unless they have to, because they'll start the race on them. So if he did go out on the soft tire, my advice would be to do it now. Low fuel, max it up, see where you can get, and then get your ultra softs or super softs ready in case you have to change your plan.
Many drivers have different plans. When we were talking
Flair
about
is
that,
out.
it looked to be, Flair is out, but like you said, in the middle of that, MLA set the fastest time, a 1:22.3 flat, so he now stands at the top of the board, and drivers that have not set times yet are now still in the danger zone for sector Q3 on trying to make it into the next session. So I'm not exactly sure if we will have every single driver finish this session. I mean, we already had one driver, but down to the last 13, it'll be really three drivers out of the remaining 13 will not be able to participate in Q number 3. So it's really just down to these drivers to try and set a decent lap just to get into Q3. Do you think we'll see any other retirements today with, besides drivers pulling out early for qualifying? Do you think we'll see any other early retirements in Q number 2?
I can see. Evidence history suggests that, the cars are struggling through 11 and 12. Drivers are finding the rear end is coming away from them, or they're just trying to push it a bit too much. But I can't believe, Alan, that we're over halfway through this session and only 6 drivers have set a lap. Hammer Time has done so, but his is invalidated, which is why he's down at the bottom. But 6 drivers out of 14 have only set a lap time with under 7 minutes to go.
Again, I think they're just waiting until the very last second when the track is warmed up to the point where they can go faster than it did before. Because I know with this game, they try to simulate it as much as possible. Like at nighttime, the track gets faster due to the conditions. So really, I think they're just waiting until the end of the session for the track to be warmed up so they can set a faster time than they would have in the beginning of Q number 2, even though the track was used in Q number 1. Sector number 3 that is out of the session. So,
turn 11 and 12. I've predicted right, I guess.
Yeah, and as soon as we ask these questions, we usually get an answer. It's a little shocking. So I think I should stick around and keep asking questions, because apparently we know what we're doing up here in the booth. But we do have 4 drivers left on the circuit that have not set a time yet. You were saying?
I think he's done what we've seen a lot as we go back on board with Flair on his soft tyres. He's about to come up to that stricken McLaren, which has been moved out of the way. I think what they're doing is they're getting too much wheels over the curb and maybe putting 2 on the grass, and it's just throwing them into the inside wall. Obviously the update today, as they say, has nerfed a little bit medium traction control, but these are mistakes that as Flair comes into the pits, he's not going to set a time on these soft tyres.
His teammate does set a time. That is Beast has the fastest lap of 121.7. Wow. On those ultra soft tires, I think that is 6/10 faster than Clifford at least, as he does retire from the session, so he is satisfied with that lap, and he is done in Q number 2. We do have 5 minutes left, So there is a chance that everyone can knock down Beast has, but most likely these drivers will be looking up to him entering Q number 3 if they advance, however. So again,
James Slater goes fourth.
We have 3 drivers left in this session to set a time, as Vanos was unable to come back to the start of the lap. It looks like Hammer Time is going to go back out on the circuit, try and set a time. Right now he's on those ultra soft tires to try and go for the best time possible, because last time he was on super soft tires. Something I noticed, there were 2 drivers that, I wouldn't say mistakenly, but lonely, when they went on those super soft tires, they decided in the end to just go on the ultras, and I think that's what Flair's going to do, and that's what he has done. So Flair will be trying to look to go back out onto the circuit, and again, I won't be surprised if he does, because that's really just a preferred tire for everyone. And again, phenomenal job for everyone so far, keeping it clean with everyone else, no collisions going on. But again, we have a little less than 4 minutes remaining, and drivers such as Flair, Jamie, and Sean still need to set laps in Q2.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, Alan, is that if you switch over to the time that they set their quickest lap time on, Dan is still sitting in 6th position on super soft tyres. So at the moment, he's the only driver who will be starting on super soft tyres, and he's now come onto an out lap. So if we check what tyre he's now on, he's gone onto the ultra soft, so he obviously feels threatened. He's currently in 6th place, he's on an out lap, we're under 3.5 minutes to go, and you have to say that with Vanos and Compact already going out, there's going to be 12 drivers wanting to get into the next session with only 10 places.
Going to be very tight within these last 3 minutes. Everyone is very pressured to get out on the circuit. Sean is out on the circuit. Jamie is about to come up to a lap, or at least finish his lap, because for the drivers that have not completed a lap yet or coming out, it says out lap. For Jamie, looks to be he is enabled DRS up to 8th gear across the line. That lap will not count. So I'm not sure if he invalidated it or not. We go down with Sean. He's about to come to his first flying lap. Most likely, I think he has not started a lap yet, neither has Jamie. So across the line, he'll enable DRS for his first lap. I'm going to look at Flair now. I think he is on circuit, so across the line, Flair will start his first lap, most likely, yes. So all these drivers just started their lap now within a span of 15, 20, around 25 seconds of each other. So again, these times will change in around less than 2 minutes, but again, I would be threatened if I was, let's say, Dan, for example, knowing Flair and Sean and Jamie all going out on the circuit at once to put a lap on the track for once. And I would definitely feel threatened as well if I was a Neck or Sam, because I would definitely be at the buffer zone between eliminated.
Just riding on board with Jamie, he's looked like he's had a tidy lap. He's going to try and sneak into the top 10 here. He didn't expect it at the start of qualifying. He expected to be near the back, and he was planning to stay out of trouble. He's in max fuel, which is obviously new to this game. And he's coming out the last corner now. He's got DRS on, we'll ride on board. 21, 22, 23, and he goes 8th, so, and he's backed off, so he's done. That is his qualifying finished. We've got the Red Bull of etiquette on out lap. Sean, as you mentioned, has... There seems to be a bit of lag. And Hammer Time spun it again. Same place as the McLaren earlier. On the exit of turn 12, he's got too many wheels onto the grass, and he's just gone straight to the inside and lost 2 wheels. Alan?
Yep,
what's happening here?
I just noticed a lot of people are retiring. They're either calling it quits or just a lot of spins happening at once. But Flair crossed the line at 123 flat. He invalidated his lap in turn 12, so he's going to have to go up for one final round with with less than a minute remaining, or less than 30 seconds remaining, I mean. But again, I'm trying to go through. A lot of people are retiring, either Sector 1 or Sector 3, because that's where the pit lane is, so that's most likely why. Go to the grid. Flair needs to improve, either not invalidate this lap, because the time that he has now, most likely good enough for maybe 6th position. no, 7th position, most likely. So he beat Dan, but not Sam. So he's in turn 13 now. Couple series of corners to go. Qualifying is over, by the way. So a couple corners to go. He goes through cross, and it looks like Flair's going to put up a good lap on the board.
This looks tidy. Just to mention, Dan has retired, and he's kept his lap on the Super Softs. So that will be the tyre he's starting on, as Flair goes second. Flair goes second, and we can't now ride on board with another driver because we crossed the line with him. But Dan is the only driver to start on the Super Softs, and I believe we've got Sean out there. No, Sean's finished, so Sean hasn't set a time. I'm not sure why that is. He'll be out, and Eniket is out there on the Ultra Soft tyre. He's just crossed the line and stayed 10th. So other than James Slater, Alan, I think that's everyone.
I really think, looking at this, I'm surprised that everyone that set a valid lap time today will make it to Q number 3. Again, it shows the consistency that these drivers go through. I'm looking at the times. They start from a 1:21.7 to a 1:23 something, as that goes blank. Q2 is over. I'm not sure what the grid is like for Q number 3, but you're down to 10 drivers, so we'll look quickly. And B-Saz has the fastest time by 4/10 over Flair in second. MLA is third. Fourth is James. Fifth is Clifford. Sixth is Odems. Seventh is Sam. Eighth is Dan. Ninth is Jamie. 10th is Inek. 11th is Vanos. 12th is Compact, I think. And 13th is Sean. And 14th is Hammer Tom.
One thing we found out in the last session, drivers that retired in the first qualifying got kicked as soon as Q2 finished, and drivers that DNF in the second part of qualifying got kicked at the end of Q3. So they'll be able to get back in, but I don't know if that's something new with this patch. But yeah, that's happened again now, as it did in the last session, which is a bit of a pain. 12 minutes.
You have 12 minutes to get back in this session for the race very quickly. Hopefully it keeps their qualifying position. Most likely it will. But we have 10 drivers, around 12 minutes for these drivers' set times. They really need to get a go-ahead and not wait till the last second, and then next thing you know, they invalidate their lap, and then they can't even compete in next session. It's a shame, but these drivers have to get in the habit of doing that. So right now I'm looking at it, and at the current best, and looks like a bunch of drivers going out at the end of the pit lane. I think it'll be Dan again, because Dan is in a Sauber. Most likely Dan will be the one out of the pits. And Dan and Flair's still in the pits. Is he? I can't tell. But should be the first one out on the circuit. Should be Dan, and take an onboard view, and the Sauber driver is Dan, the first one out again. So really, he has his setup loaded in. He knows what he's doing. First one out on the circuit. We have around 10 minutes to go, 10, 11, somewhere around that, 10 and a half minutes. So do you think we will see any retirements that have to do with either crashes or spins in Q3?
Well, I don't really want to say yes, because every time I do, someone seems to bottle it. But I genuinely do. These drivers are going to be pushing mad. They've got obviously an extra set of ultra soft tyres given to them by Pirelli, as Dan lets Toro Rosso through. And yeah, they're gonna have to be careful here, because we've seen accidents already, and you would think all drivers are gonna do 2 runs. The only one who isn't out is Eniket in his Red Bull, so maybe he's just gonna do the one and keep an extra set for the race. We don't know what tyres drivers have left, but everyone else is either on an out lap or about to start their flying lap.
Yes, everyone out at once. That brings up a good point, because that could most likely create some dirty air if you're near a car, however. So really, something that does surprise me is that these drivers are deciding to go out there on the circuit all at once. I would have waited a couple minutes, try to get some clean air, wait for everyone to come back in. Also wait for the track to warm up, but sector number 1, it's been an incident. Looks like to be a Renault spinning. I thought I did see a Renault spinning. No, never mind. on my screen. It happened for a second, but going away. So going through everyone, looks like they're all going, so that must have been a little glitch with the system. However, but we have around, I think it's 8 minutes remaining. I mean, notifications keep popping up. Okay, so less than 9 minutes. But again, a lot of drivers trying to set some times there first, but we're going to take an onboard view. Next pulls off to the side. Dan in second. He is on a lap right now. I believe his first flying lap. I'm not exactly sure if that is because it looks like he was, again, the first one out of the pits. So I thought he would have set a time by now, but nobody else has set a time. So most likely they were just going very slowly, either trying to warm up the tires, because most likely I think these will be the tires that will either be qualifying on or giving back to Pirelli. Not exactly sure. But if these are the tires that we'll be starting on, most likely they'll be trying to protect them as much as possible. But across the line, Odoms in 1:23.5.
And he ran his fuel right to the edge because he's only got half a lap to get back to the pits on lean. So he didn't fancy doing 2 laps, as Dan goes a second quicker than that. Jamie goes 2 seconds, so he's done a 24.4. Clifford goes second, 2 tenths behind Dan.
There you go, Clifford down the grid. A lot of drivers are setting at times at once. Now we're down to 3 drivers without a lap time
Beast
on
has
the
pits.
board. And that is, Beast has MLA and Enact, and Beast has in the pits. So most likely after seeing his teammate set an invalidated lap time, but a very, very fast time, however, a 1:22.5, as MLA sets a time of 1:22 flat. So never mind me saying that time was fast, and MLA does a superb lap, a 1:22 flat. However, we did see 1:21s in the last session, so most likely these drivers will be lowering their fuel load, trying to make that car lighter to go faster in the long run. But then again, the fuel that you have is very little. We can only do like roughly 2-3 laps. So every lap does count. If you make a mess up on one of them, you have the next lap and the lap and the pits, and most likely you will run out of fuel. But we are down into the last 7 minutes of qualifying, and we are down to 2 drivers who have not set a time yet, and that is Enact and Beast has. And Enact is coming to the end of his lap in sector number 3, headed to the last final couple corners.
Here comes Dan. He improves. Dan did a second lap on that set of tyres. He improved, but it wasn't enough to take the top step. As you were saying, the Red Bull's about to come across the line. He was the last one to leave the pits. So Beastas was on a lap, and then he came into the pits. So do you think he perhaps extended track limits a little bit too much? We know he was the quickest in Q2, and no one has come close to his time. 4 tenths is MLA's best attempt at beating Beastas 121.7 from Q2.
Again, I'm just going to say this. I really feel like if I were Williams, you have to get a go-ahead, because both drivers, Flair set an invalidated lap time, Beast has invalidated the lap himself. He had to pit, most likely put on new tires, also maybe realized he made a mistake with the setup and instructions that he was able to edit, but most likely Beast has came in to adjust the car a little bit, add some new tires on the car, make sure that the time on there, or the wear on the tires are at obviously 0% to start off with these new sets that he's going to be putting on, and also Flair back out on the track, trying to set a lap within these last 5 minutes, or 5.5 minutes. Just saw Odoms switching between ultra softs and soft tire, or super soft tires. So most likely, Odoms may be deciding he believes he can go faster if he was on the super soft. Maybe he just believed he had a mess up lap there and feels he could go a lot better on the super soft tires, but looks to be a neck into the pits. He did set a lap that was 7th fastest on the circuit. Go back out with Flair and Beast, as I'm not sure if any of them are back out there on the circuit.
Everyone's in the pits, I believe.
Yeah, I thought I saw Williams go back out on the circuit, but yeah, we are down to less than 5 minutes remaining. 1 driver's not set a time so far, and 8 drivers have set a valid lap time today. Just saw 1 driver at the end of the pit lane. I saw both Williams.
They came out literally nose to tail. So I think Flair set a time, but it's invalidated, which is why he's showing in 9th place. So both Williams are going to be under pressure near that front row. You'd have to say, Alan, you know them both better than me. They've both got the pace.
I definitely do believe Beastaz is faster. He showed it in Q1, he showed it in Q2, and just personal experience from league racing, I've raced him before. I've a couple races in the past I could beat Flair, but if I ever race head-to-head with Beastaz, I need a problem to happen with him in order to beat him. But I know Beastaz is a better driver, but again, the new game, and I also did hear on one of the updates that they had with this game, is that if you had medium traction control, you're running a lot slower than you have in the past. So most likely, I'm not sure if any of them run medium traction control. I'm not exactly sure of the settings, but again, I know Flair as well. I think he used to run medium traction control a while ago. I'm not sure if he still does, but that could impact him as well, because I honestly thought he'd be in the top 5 in qualifying. I mean, he does have the time to be up there. As you can see, a 1:22.5 on, that would most likely be 5th or 6th, and he's down in 9th, but both him and Flair out on the circuit. I would say if you're on board with Flair, he's right in front of him, so he's going to have some dirty air at the time he'll be setting, so I would back off if I were him. He has no one behind him. If you do look behind him, he has no one behind. So
yeah, that's correct.
I would be looking at that.
We've got 3 minutes left of the session, and we've got Dan coming back out, but MLA, Sam, Clifford, TS Odems, and Jamie are all still in the pit, so they're obviously going to come out just for one lap. MLA must have heard me. He is now leaving the pit lane. We're going to ride on board with Flair, and we're going to switch between him and Beastaz because they are teammates. They are both in Sector 1, and they both have not set a valid time. They're both on the Ultra Softs, and they're both running max fuel. Interestingly, Flair has about 3/4 of a lap. Did one of them just let the other through? Flair has 3/4 of a lap more fuel than Beastaz, so perhaps he's planning for a mistake.
I think he wasn't aware of how much fuel he had in the car. I think there's a certain amount that each driver does burn and a certain amount of each session that they're in. We are down to the final 2 minutes of this qualifying session. It seems to be Flair is obviously still behind Beastaz, but the gap has massively increased from last lap when they were just pacing themselves. Neither of them back down. I think it's just going to show that Beastaz has a faster time. I'm going to ride on board with Beastaz through the final corner.
This is exciting.
Open up DRS. Yep, across the line. Will it be pole position? Beastaz gets pole position to 1:21.8. What will Flair do? Across the line. And that is actually going to be pole position for Flair. So I was wrong about Flair. That is whew,
and I think
heat between those two.
I think Flair has backed off because he looked like he was going to go quicker, but no, he's backed off. So we got MLA, everyone's out on track. Sam and TS Odems are on their outlaps, so they're going to be the last drivers to cross the line. I have to say, this is one of the most exciting qualifyings I've ever watched, let alone commentated on. These positions, I think they're going to change around, Alan. Everyone's going to be pushing to the absolute maximum. Let's have a look. Who's going to be the last person to cross the line? I believe it's going to be Sam. Sam will be the last person.
So we go on board with Sam, and as time counts down from 33 seconds, he'll obviously cross the line. Looking with a couple other drivers.
James Slater will get another chance.
Van Offset retired from the session. I think Enek will have another chance at it. 20 seconds remaining. He'll barely get across the line. On board with him, open up DRS, but again, I think obviously this will be it with 10 remaining. These drivers are trying to put in last second times or adjustments. Looks like he backed off there, and I'm not sure if Enek backed off, but heading towards turn 1, he braked so early. But qualifying has come to an end, and that'll be it for our full qualifying coverage on F1 TSM. The race will probably start, the run-through will start around in 5-10 minutes. But MLA
doesn't improve.
The line, he is done. Does not improve. So right now, these drivers are going to have to break up for Williams 1-2. On board with Dan in 5th. He has been bumped down because Clifford has improved to 4th. He is done. So is Jamie. He is done. Across the line, what will Dan put up the Sauber driver? Across the line. No time done. So
we've still got 4 drivers. James Slater's backed off. Sam has also backed off. Jamie's on a flyer, and Odem's about to cross the line. Goes 9th. So the last person is going to be Jamie, I believe, who's going to set a competitive time. He must have just got in there with seconds to spare because he's just completing Sector 1. For some reason it's not showing his delta time, and the reason is because he's not on a flyer. He's about to run out of fuel.
Through the rest of the drivers. It looks like all of them have either retired or called it quits. Everyone has. Jamie is in the pits. So that will end out Q number 3.
Wow.
Our first Q3 session of season number 10, the 10-year anniversary. And again, if you want to celebrate it with us, subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitter. It's at F1TSUB. And also check out our website. A new merchandise section to check out for F1TSUB. Fantastic stuff. We start out in a fantastic season. Season 10 is about to get underway for the Pinnacle tier. Just you're a couple of minutes away from seeing who qualifies where, and we will start the Australian Grand Prix.
I'm just getting a message from Odin saying that he got the, I wouldn't quite call it a glitch, but the situation on this game, whereas if you cut a corner, you get this and next lap invalidated. Which I think is really hurting drivers, because it's not just your time lap that you ruin, it's also your next one, which I don't understand why they put into this game. Yeah, Codemasters have done a great job with making it as realistic to F1 as possible, but I don't think that is as is in real life, as we are waiting for the session to finish. 30 seconds left, and wow, you did say you didn't expect Flair to beat Beastas, but 0.2 of a second, Alan. That's a bit of a margin.
Yeah, again, a new game, new handling model, a lot of new things, and I think everyone is trying to find their place in this game. And I think Flair has done a good job with that. I know he's gotten a lot faster on this game. Not sure what it would have been with the new update and the new patch, but counting down, and this will be the end of the session. I don't know why. The glitch if it's something fixed, and the car's going back out on the circuit. But that'll be it. To start out the Pinnacle tier, it will be a Williams 1-2 to start off in the race. Do you think they'll be able to both get podiums towards the end of it?
I definitely think they're going to have to be careful in the first stint. I think they're starting on the same tyre, both on the Ultra Soft, Alan, so they're going to want to be ahead of each other just simply so they don't have to stack, even though stacking in this game doesn't cost you as much time as previous games. But yeah, Flair in first position, Beastas alongside, MLA in third, Clifford's Red in fourth, Dan in fifth, James Slater in sixth, Sam in seventh, Jamie in eighth. Shout out to Jamie, well done mate. TS Odems in ninth, and Iniket in 10th position.
So that will round out the top 10. We are moments away from the start of the Australian Grand Prix in season number 10. I'm not sure if we have a formation lap or not. I think we have to turn it off.
We do indeed have a formation lap, yes. If it comes up with any driver that's been disqualified in the formation lap, I believe it's only from that formation lap, not the race.
I'm going to wait till the formation lap so I know. Actually, no, it says race start, 20-something. I'm just going to wait and make sure it's formation lap. And apparently, I'm not sure if you look at the top left, I'm not sure if that is all the drivers we have in the session, because everyone is trying to join back at once. I'm hoping that they'll be able to race. Again, you did the podium tier, so you know what's going on.
Yeah,
everyone,
Alan, yeah. What we found was a few drivers that got disconnected, and yeah, formation lap. A few drivers that got disconnected. Strangely enough, when drivers reconnected in, but they were still using the driver's name that got disconnected. So unless you clicked on their profile, they were showing as a different driver.
Okay, so I'm going to go very quickly. Someone is knocking at my door, and I need to get something very quickly. So I'll be right back.
Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, guys, Lemaine won the podium tier earlier tonight. Throughout the entire race, his gamer tag was showing as a different driver. So we need these guys to get back in if they can. I'm not sure why the game's doing this, but it happened in the last session. Drivers were able to get back in. So as everyone cleanly gets away under the formation lap, unfortunately, we're having some issues with some drivers. I hope we start with more than 12. That would be a really shame after starting with 17. Let's get this spectator set up. And let's get the position change and the telemetry up.
I'm back now. It was a telemarketer, so I hate to interrupt that. But yes, we are back.
Welcome back
to the Australian Grand Prix.
We hope there's going to be more than 12.
And I'm hoping we have everyone in.
There's a few drivers that are posting on the chat that they can't get back into the lobby. Unfortunately, guys, there's not a lot we can do. We are not sure why this is happening. Perhaps someone could shed some light who's maybe watching the stream, as all drivers are lined up on the grid.
I'd most likely say if they can't fix it, don't do this in the future, because the glitch is for these drivers when they leave or just DNF at the end of the session. But here we go, the 5 red lights to fill in our screens, and Season 10 is going to be underway in Australia. Lights out and away we go. And we're going to take an onboard view with one of the Williams drivers. Both of them get off to a decent start, but headed into turn number 1, it looks to be a 12-driver grid, believe it or not. Wheel to wheel, it's going to be Flair and Beastaz trying to battle each other, weaving back and forth, single file between the first couple of drivers, and headed down to the straight. It looks like to be an attempt for Flair, that is. A couple of drivers leaving the session, a 12-driver grid, that's what we mentioned. But we go further down the grid, and it appears to be the situation wheel to wheel. The Renault driver tries to hang it through the inside. He gets a position that is, I believe, his place. So, again, a fantastic move for Flair. Still leads away by almost 4 tenths, and it looks like MLA is about to pressure Beastaz for P2. So the top 3 drivers in the podium are pulling away from each other. Looks to be everyone still relatively close. No one got into an incident. Do you think that Beastaz can get passed for second by MLA?
I know MLA is really consistent with his tyres, so he's really good on tyre wear. Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to be within his sights. As we look at some of the position changes, we're not sure who is in 10th place. If we ride on board, perhaps it's a Force India. It's not Sam, and it's not Matt, because he's not racing, so it's someone who's rejoined from Q1. Perhaps Jaw, maybe? I think it could be Jaw. It's not showing his name, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. As the biggest loser from that has got to be Clifford's Red. He's in the pits now. He's lost 8 positions as he puts on the soft tyre. And yeah, the gap is close between the front 2.
A little bit of a disappointment to have a 12-driver race. We were going to start with 17, so 5 drivers out, and again, a disappointment. I thought most likely I don't think we'll be restarting. It's just again a glitch that happened. Sadly, it's gonna have to be like that for a while. But I'm going through the grid, and I'm looking at Jamie in 9th place. He's relatively close to the car ahead, the Ferrari. If you take an onboard view with him in the Toro Rosso, cutting the corner again. I think that's his AI. I'm not sure if that's his AI. No, not. But going to the outside is a Ferrari, looking as the door shuts on him by TS Odoms. But again, I'm kind of surprised because you go on board with Jamie. I'm not sure what the symbol is. I'm not sure if it says he's either the party leader, but it looks like Haas runs wide. Position will be for the taking around the outside. If they can hang in wheel to wheel, they bang wheels down the straight, coming to the start of lap number 4, I believe, across the line, still battling. And that was ever so close.
Beastaz is going down the inside of Flair. Sorry, Alan. He's just taken a position. Flair left the door open there, and Beastaz just came straight down the inside. DRS is open, obviously, this lap, because we're on lap 3. And Beastaz was all over in the last sector, and he's done the move into turn 3. So the Williams have changed position. Sorry to interrupt, Alan. We did mention that those two would be fighting hard.
the race lead Beast does take it. I can't believe a couple laps ago I said he was about to get passed by MLA, but the gap between him and Flair is now 1.4 seconds after that overtake. Imagine if it was just a pass down the straight, but it looks to be MLA just falling off the pace compared to Flair in second place. But we look back at Dan. Dan is in fourth, fifth is Sam, sixth is Jermaine, seventh is T.S. Odoms. Still right behind him is the Ferrari driver. Again, a huge train to take on board with these guys. Headed down the straight. I think he's going to have another shot at this position, however. Right behind, but blocking into turn 13. And again, I think it's something that they add in this game. Again, if you look at the back end of T.S. Odoms, eventually, I think off the exit of the corners, you will see that light blink. I'm not exactly sure. I did see it once, but I never saw as he goes for the position, but you just saw a light go off a couple times there. In the old game, in 1.7, I never saw that light go off, even in the rain. So I think they did add that. But heading into turn number 1, a good entrance and exit for the Ferrari driver. So headed down the straight, DRS is open again. Again, it's the activation. Only one activation zone, so Ferrari driver gets it in both DRS zones, however. So in 8th place, trying to get by Odoms, but behind you can see in 9th as he loses the back end, a position, one position for the taking, and now looks to be he'll be under threat from the Toro Rosso, who's about to pass him for 9th place. And again, just it wasn't turn 11 or 12 where he got loose or just lost the back end. This time it was in sector number 1. I'm kind of surprised he kept it off the wall. Do you think we'll see any driver losing it there again?
It's possible. We had a safety car because of that in the podium tier earlier on tonight. But in the background of that shot, as I was riding on board with Odoms, the Red Bull hit the grass. I don't know if he damaged his wing. He was very close to the wall. So all drivers, I believe, are going to struggle with the rear of the car. As Chris looks down the inside and he touches and Chris spins. That, I'm sorry to say, as I ride on board with Chris now as he backs up, that was very, very risky of Chris. I don't think that was the Toro Rosso's fault. There just wasn't enough room, and that's really disappointing. He's going to have to come into the pits. Yellow flags in sector 3, but that was his own doing, I'm afraid, for the season 7 champion there.
Yeah, he has it in the pits. I'm surprised. He spun at 2 separate times on this lap. It's more like Julian Palmer, gust of wind, if you remember Malaysia. But back to this. Again, pitting for, again, his second stint. He'll fall down as Clifford also pitted. He has been promoted back into the top 11, as, again, Chris has just pitted. So he exits the pits. He had to fix that front wing. That is why. But I don't think any other battles would be going on, however. But it's just 1-2 for the Williams crew, and that's the way they want to see it. Biasaz pulling off almost a 1.9 second gap. And again, like I said before, I mean, I said Flair was faster from previous, or not Flair, Biasaz was faster to previous experience, but Flair is the one who got pole. That is just pole. Or qualifying, I mean. Imagine the race. Maybe Biasaz was just saving it in the back so he could really just try his best in this entire race. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, however, because maybe just doesn't want to exactly push on his tires too much. He knows he can get second place if he doesn't push as hard, but if he wants pole, he's going to have to try his best because he does have a competitive teammate. So maybe he just fell in the second on purpose, gave Flair the pole position, so he could eventually pass him in the race and, you know, pull away with the race lead. I mean, he's doing a fairly well job at this point. He's just maintaining the gap. He pulled off to a 1.8 gap around that 1.9. Maybe he's just saving his tires now or fuel. And you can see it's just starting to go up now as it goes to a full 2 seconds. Do you think Beastaz will be able to maintain his gap, or do you think Flair will try and either undercut or overcut him?
I think Flair's going to have to do something, because at the moment he's not able to stick with him. I'm just riding on board with the Force India, who has a blank name. This is the closest battle. He's 3 tenths behind TS Odoms. And if we look at who's on what tyre, Dan is looking pretty in 4th on the super soft tyre. Chris and Clifford and now Indicate are the only ones to make a stop. Chris is on the supers, Indicate is on the soft, so is Clifford's red, and the Force India driver, who is chasing Odoms, is on 2 compounds softer, but he's piling the pressure on. But you have to say Odoms is doing a good job of defending this race.
Yeah, again, man, a lot of drivers get put in this position. So hold on, he's doing a fantastic job on holding on, however. As we look behind for 8th place, I think, not Torah, so Force India driver, he is reeling him in. A position is for the taking, that's because Sam is actually into the pits of Force India's teammate. Looks like he's going to put on the super soft tires for his second stint today.
That'll be a 2-stop.
A lot of drivers usually go for a 1-stop, and they usually put around lap 9, 10, 11, and 12, around that. It usually either starts out with ultra soft or super softs, and they finish the race on softs, or maybe super softs if you're on ultras and you're very good at tire conservation. However, again, on board with Jor in 7th, trying to get by TS Odoms for 6th place, still hanging on. I wonder when they'll get by each other. But I go through the grid. It looks like the Torazo Jamie is very close to the second Force India driver who's on those super soft tires. I also go through the grid, and I also see MLA has pulled in Flair. That is half a second gap. You think he'll be able to get by him?
I was just about to say, I'm riding on board with them now. MLA looks like he's just looked after his tyres the first few laps, and they're starting to come back to him. Flair's maybe struggling from being in the dirty air of Bisas, but Bisas is pulling quite a large gap, and MLA's closing. So does Flair have a bit of an issue? We're not sure, or is he just struggling with these tyres? You would think he's going to blink first in terms of the pits, because he doesn't want to lose too much time, but stopping now, you'd have to go onto the soft if you wanted to 1-stop. As MLA, is he going to go down the inside into turn 3? Oh, Flair shuts the door. A bit late on the brakes there, but they managed to keep it together. Flair gets a bad exit. MLA is going to come down the inside and take the position. Flair goes wide into the grass, and he's in the wall, and he's out the race.
Too aggressive. I mean, he made a mistake.
Yeah.
But Flair, I would put that on Flair. He tried to go around the outside. I would have backed off if I were Flair. Again, drivers trying to avoid Flair, because apparently the Renault driver just flew by Flair. He hit part of the car, and now the tires is wobbling below the surface. A couple other drivers trying to avoid the car as Flair's up the second. First driver to retire today. Again, that Williams 1-2 will not be possible as MLA is up to the second position. Now it is a 2-second gap behind with him and Dan. A disappointment with Flair after getting the pole in today's Australian Grand Prix. The first person to get the first pole of season number 10. However, he will not finish today's Grand Prix. A little bit of a disappointment. Now that we have 11 drivers left in this session, 10 of them will get points. One of them will go home without points. Seeing that Clifford and one other driver pitted, a couple others had incidents earlier in the Grand Prix. Do you think we'll see any other incidents, however?
Well, when you asked me earlier if we'd see an incident at that part of the track, you know, I think it's a difficult part of the track. As you said, it's the narrowest part, and it just doesn't go too wide. So as we see the Force India, who we do not know, still trying to get past Odems in the DRS zone, now coming down towards turn 3. James Slater has just pitted. Who would you apportion blame to that incident, and do you think it's worth Flair going to the stewards?
I would most likely say maybe, again, I don't want to take sides, but around 80% of it on Flair, 20 on MLA. I mean, you're not supposed to slow up and stay behind. That was a massive, massive terrible exit for Flair. Obviously, I would have just let him by. That's definitely what I would have done. But obviously, when you're MLA, you've been trying to get by Flair for the past few laps. I would have, again, if I were him, I would have just gone by him. I would have tried to give him a little more room. That's where the 20% kicks in. Because, again, he didn't leave him much room. He just shoved him off the circuit. He lost the back end into the wall. He went. It's a disappointment for Flair, but he has him next week to prove himself, however. But, again, I would really put that on Flair.
Yeah, he's definitely quick enough. As we said, he took pole position. The first pole position. Odom goes slightly wide. Is this going to give the Force India a chance? No, he still manages to hold on to the position. This is some great defending by Odems. Meanwhile, Dan is only 2 seconds behind MLA, as Odems now comes into the pits on his ultra soft tyre. As I was saying, soft, and he's sitting pretty in third place at the moment.
Yeah, again, well, like you said before, players don't want to retire from the session, so really that promoted everyone up a position above than they expected to be in. Um, but yeah, we're 10 laps through. We have 20 to go, I believe. I think it's 20 to go, if I'm correct. Yeah, 28 laps to go. So we're 1/3 through this Grand Prix already. And the reason to that is the races are going by a lot faster due to the fact that we have faster cars and, again, we have faster drivers compared to the podium tier. So most likely, these drivers will be getting done with this Grand Prix I wouldn't say very shortly, but again, we're going to be talking for, I don't know, maybe next half an hour, and the race will be over by then. Again, time flies when you're doing this, and again, it's
Beast has pits.
fantastic. Yep, Beast has into the pits.
As
On
one
board
Force
with them,
India
most likely.
lets another Force India driver through on the back straight just before turn 11. That was definitely a move that was orchestrated. As BSAS puts a soft tyre on, so he's definitely one stopping. Yeah, that was orchestrated to say the least. They were on different compounds, which is understandable. So yeah, we've got the closest battle now. James Slater chasing down Clifford's Red.
Yep, something I did notice. I said earlier that with Beast has, not just Beast has, any driver who decides to do a one-stop, you can either start on the ultra soft tires or the soft tires, and most likely you'll be finishing the race on the soft tires if you're going for a one-stop. That is what Beast has done today. I'm not sure when Dan and MLA will be pitting, because, I mean, yes, they do have different tire compounds. Maybe Dan in 4 laps, maybe MLA with these next two. But I do feel like...
Sorry, Alan. I think what was really key for BSAS there was he came out in front of Sam, who has another 2 or 3 drivers within 3 seconds of him. So maybe he looked for that gap and decided that that lap was the best gap to get him out in 3rd place and ahead of those cars that started on the super soft or the soft tires. I think that could be key to his race win here.
It looks like MLA does head into the pits. Look back, Dan just passed him, so he's very close at them. So maybe these two drivers could be battling when it comes off the pits. It looks like the number 25, MLA, goes for a set of soft tires, as Dan will be out there for a couple more laps. However, it'll be the race off pit road, not even close, as Beast has demolishes MLA off the pits and grabs position. So Beast has nothing to worry about, because right now Dan still needs a pit with these next couple of laps, and he is on the harder compound compared to when Beast has was out for his first stint. So again, nothing to worry about if I were Beast has, but again, knowing Beast has very, very fast, that can result in a big mistake if you mess up in one of these sectors. However, again, a lot of drivers have done that so far today, so I would not be surprised if he joins his teammate on the DNF scale today. But again, 12 laps through, we have, I believe, oh, never mind.
Odens is retired. He's binned it out of the last corner.
He was running in 10th place, so the only driver that would gain a position is an X. So now every driver so far, if they finish the Grand Prix, they will finish with something on the board. So again, we are only 12, 13 laps through, and PC Odoms is out. Most likely lost the back end off the final corner. My prediction is you can still see if you're still with Odom. You can see the DRS is blinking. Most likely he lost the back end off the final corner. Probably locked up, either trying to save it from going multiple ways. Locked up, that caused him to deactivate the DRS. Turned into the left side of the wall, lost part of his front wing and his left tire, and he's out. But right now Dan is into the pits, going to put on a set of soft tires. Most likely he's not so good at tire conservation. But between him and MLA, I believe. MLA does get the position. So right now, MLA up to 2nd place again. Dan comes out in 3rd place. So again, looks like the overcut didn't really work for him.
No, just looking on Odems as Beast has passed him, Odems was nearly at the start-finish flag. So whatever accident he's had, it's got to be not just out the last corner, because he was so far down the straight that I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, his car slid a long way down. As we ride on board with James Slater, he's still trying to get past Clifford's Red. Chris has recovered back up to 8th after that early spin and front wing change. shame to see Odem's DNF. He watched the drivers in the podium tier DNF, and you know, he said to me he knows what's what, but usual wheel driver is having to use a pad. As we see now, Clifford's red is right on the back of the Force India, the one who isn't named, which is very strange. It'd be interesting to know who's actually racing in that Force India.
I'm not exactly sure by that, but we go back to the grid. Something is heating up for 5th place, however. 3-car train. Jor is the conductor of this one, and behind him is Clifford's red in 6th. 7th is going to be James. So maybe we could see some 3-wide action down the straight, hopefully, but the DRS isn't as strong, so most likely down the straight, right on board with the Toro Rosso. I'm not going to get by Jor, so maybe, again, like you said, there's only one activation straight, or one activation point, so he'll have DRS again, headed down the straight, going defensive as Jor to the inside. To the outside goes the Toro Rosso, trying to find some room, goes around the outside, but can't get it. Clifford is still in 6th place. Remember, this is the part where one of the drivers, I believe, made a mistake earlier on in this race, but everyone gets through cleanly. It looks like James has backed off. So going to be a 2-car battle, but gets ever so close to the back end as the Toro Rosso finds a way to slip in and on board with Clifford. Headed through, but around the outside goes the Force India, and he'll fall back into the 6th position as Clifford. No, to the inside goes Areto. Must have made a mistake, but right now, James is just having a disaster, or not James, Clifford is having a disastrous time as he's trying to go around the outside in turn number 13. Closes the door again, so James is going to hang on just for this lap, however. So, however, he's going to run wide and headed into Prost in these 2 final corners. Again, it's going to be a 3-car train. I think it was every position has been changed. It's a terrible exit for Clifford. Clifford was 6, I believe. Nope, only James and Jor has stayed the same. James and Clifford have changed positions. So, other than that, the next position up for the taking with the Renault driver is going to be Jor in 5th place, going defensive to the inside again. This time, braking very late. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. Contact is made. And looks to be Joris hanging on to P number 5. This has allowed Clifford to gain back in. Do you think any of these drivers will get into incidents? They're ever so close to each other.
It's some great racing, you have to say. They've all been pretty fair so far. Who's going to come out on top? I honestly don't know. They all seem pretty quick, and they all seem to want that 5th position.
Yep, and down the straight, they're about to head into 11 and 12. Renault driver still between, trying to find a way around the Force India, trying to find a way. Sorry if I keep chopping up. I'm still feeling a little sick. Yeah. But right now, James, we're going to take an onboard view with him, and looks to be that Clifford is still stuck behind him. Every time that Jor is holding these two up, it's allowing Clifford to gain back the time he lost. But again, I'm surprised because the Renault of James has not gone by. Only driver in this pack that is on these super soft tires, and he is stuck behind Jor, who's on those soft tires. Same with Clifford, he's on those soft tires, so really, he's just in the soft tire sandwich, headed down the straight. DRS will be enabled again. Jor goes defensive on the outside as a Renault of James to the inside. And this time, maybe he's going to try and hang it to the outside. Does not give him enough room. This time he grabs the position around the outside in this turn. So James is up to 5th place, and finally, took him a couple laps, finally got by Jor, and now James is up into P5, and next he'll be trying to chase down Sam, though he's a long way ahead.
Yeah, these guys have been stuck to each other for what now, 3 laps? So they're really enjoying this battle, and I'm really enjoying watching it.
Oh, Renault has made a mistake. That is James. Fell back and wheel to wheel for back as Clifford up to P5. So there must have been something going on again. I'm sorry if I'm sniffing again. I thought I wouldn't make it this far in the Grand Prix, but James is falling back we do have around, I think, 12, 13 laps to go. And now Clifford is up to P5 again. So on those soft tires, yeah, I'm surprised that James has fallen back because he's on those super soft tires. Though he's on the faster tire compound, he is going to pit. Most likely, he'll be trying to go for one final stint in this Grand Prix. We do have 13 laps to go.
Yes, we are riding on board to Beast House now, who's leading the race quite comfortably. 9.9 seconds to MLA behind in the Mercedes. Dan is only 3.5 seconds behind. Will he be able to close in on MLA with slightly fresher tyres? Sam is in 4th. He's a solid job. Sam's made a big improvement this season from Season 9. He's a premium member and he's just been fantastic. He's a steward this season, and I can really see big things from his pace today. Clifford's Red is in 5th. Again, another premium member. Jaw, you say, is in the Force India. On my screen, what I was referring to earlier is just blank. I don't have a gamer tag there. But as you said, it's Jaw, so he's got back in to the lobby after the first part of qualifying. Chris, the Season 7 champ, he is in 7th position, recovering from his risky move down the inside of Clifford's Red. Jamie. Speaking of Jamie, he's in 8th, place behind Chris. James Slater, who just pitted, is in 9th, and Anatic is in 10th position. If we quickly have a look, we'll be able to see who stopped. So James Slater is the only driver to stop twice, and Jaw is the only driver not to stop.
Very interesting, because usually, hold on a second, looks like the Jaw gaining 2 positions because Sam and Clifford both pitting. So Jaw is actually up to 4th position. They were battling for 5, 6 position there, 5th, 6th. Chris is on pits as well. And what tires will he put on? A lot of drivers actually go for 2 stops. I'm surprised because he talked about a 1 stop was possible. But now you know why drivers like to start on the harder compound. It really worked out for them, like Beast has, for example. Went from ultra soft tires to soft tires. So he's going to be able to go through the 1 stop in this Grand Prix. It looks to be we have 12 laps to go. And Beast has pulled off a masterclass today, pulling off 11.5 seconds. Props to him. He is leading the way. Led the most laps so far today. Speaking of him, fastest lap. Doing phenomenal as he's trying to pass the lap car. The Ferrari gets ever so close. MLA, however, 11.5 seconds behind. But we talk about Dan. He is closing in the gap ever so slowly, however. I'm not sure he'll be able to reel him in. He needs something to happen to MLA, however, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yes, Dan's been holding that gap about 3.5 seconds now to MLA, as we see the Force India of Jaw have a bit of a sloppy exit from the last corner, and it's 3.4 now. But I feel like MLA's kind of holding station a little bit. Second place is really the best he's going to do today, and I think Dan should be happy with 3rd as well. Jaw's still yet to pit, the only driver who hasn't done so. He's currently in 4th place, and he started on those soft tyres. So you would think he's going to switch over to the ultra soft tyre, and definitely he'll be last 10 laps, last 9 laps. He'll be pushing that car and seeing how many positions he can get back.
I think a lot of drivers will be pushing their car towards the end. The circuit. I think that was just my imagination, but. It looks like Jamie is out of the pits, so he's down in 9th place. Chris is in 10th. He just got passed by Beast has a lap ago. But I'm going through the rest of the grid, and Joe is still in 4th. 5th is notification popped up. 5th is other Force India driver of Sam. 6th is Clifford. 7th is James. 8th is Anak. 9th is Jamie. 10th is going to be Chris, rounding out the top 10. We do have 11 laps to go. Beast has gotten pulling away. Something I would look at, however, again, I would either most likely see the gap between MLA and Dan. That is around almost 4 seconds. Again, the gap is closing up. It looks like Jor's into the pits, however. And it looks like he'll go from the soft tires to the ultra soft tires for one final stint in this Australian Grand Prix.
I'm being quite entertained by Bisas has lapped Chris, as you mentioned, and now Chris is all over the back of him, kind of hurrying him on a bit. So Chris is obviously on the quicker tyre, but Bisas has got the quicker pace. So Bisas will want to drop him. He won't want Chris pressuring him for the rest of the race, as Jaw drops to 6th position, I believe, after that pit stop.
Yeah, drop 2 positions, and right now behind is James in 7th, so they come out relatively close to where they are, and it looks like Chris, the fastest lap, he was getting slipstream of the leader Beast has, and speaking of him, pulling away to almost 13 seconds, so phenomenal to him. I'm going to ask you if you can give me a second. I really need to clean myself up for lap next minute, so just...
Yeah, no problem, Alan. Take care of yourself for a sec. Yeah, Chris, I'm riding on board now with these two. Chris is all over the back of Bisas, and I'm not sure what's going through his mind or Bisas' mind, but it definitely is not a comfortable position for Bisas to be in. And although he's in 1st position by some way, that Ferrari is hasting him along, that is for sure. There's a few battles going on down the field, the closest one of which is James Slater on the back of Jaw, as there's a yellow flag in Sector 3, which is now gone. So we haven't seen a safety car or a virtual safety car. The podium tier, I think, ran the safety car out of gas. But this is some entertaining racing again from these guys. And James Slater has his DRS open into the braking zone into turn 3. Not quite close enough yet. Let's see whether Chris has dropped off, and he has. So Chris has dropped off, and he's got front wing damage. So I'm not sure what's happened there. Let's check the Bisas is okay. Everything looks intact. So maybe Chris got a little bit too close, which I don't understand, and perhaps he got some wing damage. He'll still score a point. Just needs to finish this race. Dan is in 3rd position nicely, still holding station. Sam is in 4th, Cliff is Red's in 5th. James Slater is still trying to get past Jaw into 6th. Jamie doing a solid job in 8th. I said to him ahead of this race, he's a bit worried about his pace, and I told him just to keep it clean, keep his nose clean, and he'll pick up positions. He's done exactly that, so well done to him. Pinnacle on his debut is in 9th position, and of course Chris, which has had a bit of a nightmare race, is in 10th position. So I think that's Chris's 3rd stop. 2nd front wing change. We're not sure, as I said, what happened, but you can only presume that he either made a mistake or got a little bit too close to Bisas. He needs to be careful there though, because taking out or having an incident with the race leader isn't something you want to add to your F1 TS Hub history. Welcome back, Alan.
Yep, I feel a lot better. Hopefully I can last the remainder of the race. If anyone doesn't know, I've been sick for the past week. I thought I was getting better, but apparently towards the end of your cold, your voice is just drastically changes. So that is the reason why. But again, I was looking when you're talking, the gap between Clifford and Sam. Looks like to be he's reeling him in. I'm not sure if either he's falling off the pace or he's just reeling him in. But again, we are coming to the final stages of this Grand Prix. And like we said earlier, drivers will be pushing their hardest to try and get by some drivers. I look back at 6th place and 7th because James is massively pulling in Jor for the position. So again, 2 battles to be looking out for. I'd definitely be looking out for them within the final stages of this Grand Prix. And again, Dan appears to be 3 seconds off the pace of 2nd place of MLA. So that will be that. Across the line, I got a glitch just here with James, but looking back, it looks to be these drivers are really just falling off the pace now with the 2 battles that we were just looking at. So I think another commentator's curse just say, oh, they're very close, and next thing you know, they increase the gap by so much. So again, props to Sam and props to, I believe, Jor. Pulling off the gap so far, I believe they are both Force India drivers. both leading these two-car packs. So, coming to the final stages of this Grand Prix. Again, comment down below who you think driver of the day was so far. Again, if I were to pick a driver of the day, I mean, yes, the Grand Prix isn't over yet. But I'm just looking at it. Beast has done a phenomenal job on passing the pole sitter and pulling off to such an incredible gap. But again, I look at Sam, he's gained three positions, or you can look at Jor, started 12th, now he's 6th. Do you have any driver of the day candidates on your mind right now?
There's definitely a few as Chris sets the fastest lap after his third pit stop. I have to say that, as you said, B says, when he got past Flair, he just kind of never looked back. So he's showing his dominance and putting his foot right on the gas for this 10th season of TS Hub. And yeah, MLA's had a bit of a quiet race. Dan's had a good race, I believe. I think that he's done well on a slightly different strategy. As you said, Sam, 3 positions, he's moved up. In terms of pace, he's improved so much from the previous season, so well done to him. Clifford's red. If we ride on board with him, he is just behind Sam actually, so this could get a little bit tasty. And yeah, Jor has also gained 6 positions, so well done to him. He obviously didn't go out again in Q1, but we've got yellow flags in Sector 3.
Going through looks to be the Ferrari driver, 10th place, Chris. Turn number 12. So the turn number 12 incident appears again as it did in qualifying. Chris having another conflict off the exit of 12. The first time he lost the back end, turned left into the wall. This time I think this was maybe off turn 11 and either locked up as he runs very wide in 13.
Front wing damage.
Yep, front wing damage. You can see the left front plate is missing, so he'll have to pit. As he doesn't have much to lose. He has nothing to lose because he's in 10th place. No one's behind him on the track. So I think really if he just pits, he can really just get lapped and, you know, do one less lap. So really it's a win situation for him to get that 10th place. However, if he was looking to get 9th, it would be out of the question. But
yeah, I was just going to say, as we see the front wing change, which isn't simulated properly, they never took the front wing off. But yeah, Chris has had a bit of a scrappy race. That's his 3rd front wing change, and we're on lap 26 out of 29. A bit of a disappointing one for him, but let's go back on board with Clifford and Sam, because these two are the closest. They are both on the super soft tyre, so there's no tyre advantage. Not sure what lap they pitted, but they're definitely going to be scrapping for the final few laps of the race, as Beast Haas, MLA and Dan lock out the podium positions.
Yeah, but we talked about podium positions earlier. We honestly thought Flair would have been there. We thought his face would have been on the podium today, but it wasn't meant to be. Speaking about not meaning to be, we had around 5 different drivers not race today that should have at least, due to the glitch with this game, either retiring or leaving at the end of the session. They could not get back in due to these actions. Hopefully next Grand Prix they've been warned by the game itself, hoping not to do that. Maybe just stay in the session, or just not retire the car at all, or just notify Codemasters to fix it. Either one would be a good solution. But we do come to the end of this Grand Prix. We have a couple laps remaining, and looks to be a position for P4. Clifford gets by around the outside. He's going to try and hang it. And
that was a
Clifford
good
is
move.
up to P4. We were talking earlier. He was pushing to get through the field. He finally got through him. I was looking through the time gap to see if there's any battles going on, and Clifford just passed Sam for 5th place. So kudos for Clifford. He's up to 4th place. Next, his mission now is to get a podium, but that is not likely because 34 seconds ahead is 3rd place. It's Dan in 3rd place in the Sauber car. So again, we have 3 laps to go. Beast has leading the way by more than 12 seconds, and a phenomenal job today. Really surprised by the performance that Beast has. I would have loved to see if Flair finished the Grand Prix to see what happened about yellow in Sector 1. That is going to be... Is it Chris? Yes, it is Chris again. Off in turn number 1. Right where the Arizona active starts. And not
got a rear
best
puncture?
save. Let's run him on board with... I'm not sure if Murphy. No puncture
Nope.
at all. Unless the game is lying to us. But, again, disappointment for Chris. He's a lap down already. At least, that's what it says. But
He just needs to finish this race.
Yeah, if I were Chris, what positive outtakes would I take from this Grand Prix?
Well, you can only learn from what's happened, the bad things that have happened in this race, and try and improve him for the next one. He struggled out of corners which are poor traction zone, and when they're high speed, as we see Odem's wheel on the left of the track there, riding on board with Bisas, you can only look at the things you've done wrong and improve on them for the next race. The first race, you have to say, can always be sloppy, so it can only get better from there in. That's my opinion on it, but yeah, it really has been a poor performance by Chris's standards. As we see James Slater still trying to get past Jaw. It feels like this entire race he's just been trying to get under that second and just get close enough where he can make a pass, but he's just over a second, so there'll be no DRS.
Yeah, I mean, he fell off the pace. It was 2 seconds gap between him and Jor. However, he worked up to be now 8/10 between the two. They are headed to, I believe, 2 laps to go. You can see the Ferrari off to the left side, letting him by. So yeah, final 2 laps of this Grand Prix. Again, driver of the day, comment down below, or you can do at F1TSL. That is our Twitter. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Check out the website. We have new merchandise to check out as well. Starting off the 10-year anniversary of F1TSL for their season, or 10 season anniversary, not 10-year. But again, B says going off to a 14-second gap as he's going to cross the line for one final lap in this Australian Grand Prix in Albert Park. 1 lap to go. MLA is going to cross now. Dan is headed through the corner before that. I'm going to look back, like we said, Sector 1 again. That's going to have to be Chris. It is. I could tell without even checking. Chris not having the best of day. Might as well just not mention his name. I don't want to say it too much to the point where he's embarrassed, but we are on the final lap of this Grand Prix. On board with James, he's trying to reel in Jor. Remember, they have not passed the line yet, so they have 2 laps to go. They are not a lap down, however, I believe, so he will have a shot at it. But Bisaz entering sector number 2 for the final time. Bisaz pulling off a masterclass. Hopefully Flair can take some notes from this, seeing how good the Williams car is this season. Again, I think that team's going to be really strong in constructors, and most likely, if I were going to, put money on who's going to win constructors this year, most likely it's going to have to be the Williams crew. They could have pulled up a 1-2 today, but they're still going to get the dub as they enter through the final sector. Beast he's lost a couple times through that sector, but that's okay. At least 13 seconds. He doesn't worry about that, but headed through Prost and the final corner. The best possible way to start off season number 10 in the Pinnacle tier. And it's going to be Beastaz that takes victory in Albert Park. He wins the Australian Grand Prix today, leading the majority of those 29 laps. Second place is going to have to be MLA. He's going to cross the line eventually. I can't spectate MLA.
Yeah.
I'm stuck spectating Beastaz.
I've learned, well. No, I had that previously. I've learned just to switch just before they cross the line so you can follow everyone as they cross the line. I'm on board with Clifford's Red now. He's the next one to come through. He's just in the last sector. And James Slater is 0.3 of a second behind the Force India, so I'm just going to ride on board with this. I'm sorry to the guys in front if I don't follow you as you cross the line, but this is going to go to the last corner, the last lap. He gets such a good exit. They're both on the same... no, sorry, they're not. James is on the soft and the Force India Jaws on the super. James tries to go around the outside of 13. They touch wheels. There's no room for him though. Jaw was quite defensive there, but you'd have to say anyone would be on the last lap. They're going to come across the line as they started this lap. The Force India exits the last corner. Renault's just behind, and yeah, it's all over. But well done to them. Jamie Met, last person. Oh, and that is it.
So, Your winner today is Beast Has, the Williams driver. I was a little disappointed by the finish. I wouldn't say finish, but I was disappointed because the stream has a delay of like 7 seconds, and I was watching the battle, and you said he already crossed the line. I was like, is he going to get him back? But again, a fantastic battle to finish. The podium celebration, your winner, Beast Has today to start off Season 10 of F1 TS Hub, the Pinnacle tier. And again, I would have to say a driver of the day. I'm going to have to give it to Beast Has. I hate saying the winner, but he pulled off a masterclass performance today. So the young Brit pulling off a fantastic victory today for Williams, and that's their first one this season, first victory ever for Beast Has this season. So a fantastic way to start off season number 10 as top 4 all British drivers. A lot of drivers getting penalties. Do you think Beast Has will have a lot of motivation going into next week?
I definitely think so. You know, I definitely think that wasn't just a win, that was a dominant win. And if you look at it, he actually had to be careful because he had 3 penalties. So MLA only finished under 5 seconds behind him. And I did say MLA was consistent, and that's exactly what he does best. Dan had 1, Clifford had 3, Sam had 4. In terms of positions, no one actually changed positions from the penalties. But yeah, well done to Beast Has. MLA in 2nd, Dan in 3rd, Clifford's Red in 4th, Sam in 5th, Jaw, who is blank on the stream, in 6th, James Slater in 7th, 8th is Jamie, 9th is Inatek, 10th for Chris. Bad day for him at the office, but he'll pick himself up. And then we've got the Haas and the Williams, who finished in 11th and 12th. I would just like to say apologies to anyone who wasn't able to start this race or the last race. We're definitely going to have to look at the procedure because clearly Codemasters have done something in this latest patch where full qualifying isn't working as it should. So leave that with the team, and we will get back to you on what we've planned to do about it before next week's race, which, speaking of, is round 2 in China, 9 PM for the Pinnacle tier. And yeah, Alan, final thoughts before we head off?
It was a fantastic way to start off season number 10. Despite having 12 drivers, we did the best we could. But looking back at the Grand Prix, I think it was a fairly exceptional one. If I was going to have to rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd have to give it a solid 7. A good way to start off the season, though I know we'll have a lot of great Grand Prix down the road. So most likely, I think we're going to have to end it out there. Again, final few thoughts. Check out our Twitter. It's going to be at F1TS Hub. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We will be back here next week. Same time, same place, same channel as usual. I think that's going to have to be it. Again, check out our website. Season 10, a lot of stuff happening on the website. A lot of merchandise heading up on there. And again, if you're a F1 TS Hub supporter, a lot of stuff is up just for you. So I think we're going to have to finish that up. My name is Alan Cavanera alongside Nick. And that's going to have to do it for the inaugural running of the Season 10 Australian Grand Prix. Thank everybody so much for watching. And see you next week. Peace.
Awesome. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everyone, for watching.